Car dealership manager kicks out Keanu Reeves, unaware he is the new owner. Picture this. A billionaire rolls up to his own luxury car dealership in a beat-up SUV, dressed like he just stepped out of a thrift store, only to get turned away by his own staff. At Lux Motors in the vibrant city of Valora, Keanu Reeves is about to uncover the truth behind the glitz and glamour. What happens when arrogance meets a shocking revelation? Hit that like button if you've ever been judged unfairly, and drop a comment with your guess. Will justice prevail, or will pride take the fall? The old SUV rattled to a stop in the parking lot of Lux Motors, its faded paint a stark contrast to the gleaming luxury cars lined up out front. Keanu Reeves stepped out, his worn jeans brushing the pavement, a simple black t-shirt hugging his frame, and a scuffed leather jacket slung over his shoulders. He wasn't here to impress anyone, not yet. He'd bought this dealership a few weeks back, but today he wanted to see it through the eyes of a stranger. No suit, no entourage, just him. A test of the place he now owned. He adjusted his cap, pulled low over his eyes, and headed toward the entrance. The glass doors slid open with a soft hiss, and Keanu stepped into the cool, polished showroom of Lux Motors. The faint scent of leather and wax hit him, but it was the vibe that caught his attention first. A low buzz of chatter from a cluster of employees near the front desk. Their laughter died down as he walked in, heads turning, eyes flicking over his casual getup. He felt the shift, subtle but real, like a ripple through still water. They didn't know who he was. And that was the point. Keanu kept his pace steady, hands in his pockets, letting the moment unfold. A woman broke away from the group, striding toward him with purpose. Her name tag read Lena, and her sharp blazer and clicking heels screamed authority. She carried a tablet like it was a weapon, her eyes narrowing as she sized him up. "Excuse me," she said, her voice smooth but edged with something cold. "Can I help you with something?" Her smile was tight, the kind that didn't reach her eyes. Keanu caught it instantly. He'd seen that look before, the one that said he didn't belong. "Just here to look around," he replied, keeping his tone light, nodding toward the cars. A sleek red convertible caught his eye, its curves practically begging for attention. Lena's gaze followed his, then snapped back to him, her lips pursing. "Are you shopping for a car?" she asked, doubt creeping into her voice. Keanu tilted his head, offering a faint smile. "Something like that." Her polite mask slipped, just for a second, replaced by a flash of impatience. "Well, we cater to a specific clientele here," she said, her tone sharpening. "Most of our inventory requires pre-qualification." "Maybe I can suggest—" She stopped as another employee called out, "Lena, the phone's for you." She waved them off, her focus locking back on Keanu. "Look, I'm just trying to save you some time," she said, forcing that smile again. "These cars start at 6 figures. Maybe there's a better fit for you elsewhere." Keanu raised an eyebrow, his calm unshaken. "You're assuming I'm not qualified?" The question hung there, simple but pointed. Lena blinked, caught off guard, but she recovered fast, straightening up. "I'm just being realistic," she said, her voice clipped. "No offense, but we deal with serious buyers here." Keanu nodded like he was mulling it over, then glanced at the red convertible again. "Nice car," he said casually, his fingers brushing the handle. Lena's brows shot up. "Please don't touch the vehicles," she snapped, stepping closer. "If you're not here to make a serious inquiry, I'll have to ask you to step back." Keanu paused, letting her words settle, then took a slow step away, hands back in his pockets. "All right," he said, his tone still even. "What would you recommend for someone like me?" She hesitated, surprised by the pushback, but quickly doubled down. "Something more budget-friendly," she said, her voice dripping with condescension. "I can point you to a used car lot down the road. They've got reliable options, practical stuff." Keanu's lips twitched, a flicker of amusement he buried fast. "That's quite an assumption," he said softly, locking eyes with her. For a split second, Lena faltered, her confidence wavering, but she squared her shoulders. "I'll grab you a list," she said, turning on her heel and stalking off. Keanu watched her go, his expression unreadable. Around him, the other employees had gone quiet, sneaking glances his way. He could feel their judgment, the silent agreement that he didn't fit the Lux Motors mold. He wasn't mad? Not yet. This was exactly what he'd come to see. How did his dealership treat people when the spotlight was off? Lena's attitude was the first clue, and it wasn't a good one. He shifted his weight, glancing at the cars again, their glossy finishes reflecting his figure back at him. This was his place, his rules, but they didn't know that. Not yet. Lena returned a minute later, a printout clutched in her hand. "Here," she said, thrusting it at him, "some options that might suit your situation." Keanu took it without a word, scanning the list. Used sedans, an old pickup, prices a fraction of what Lux Motors sold. He folded it, tucking it into his pocket. "Appreciate it," he said, his voice steady. Lena crossed her arms, clearly done with him. "I'm just being honest," she said. "We're not for everyone." Keanu met her gaze, calm but unflinching. "Honest, huh? I like honesty. Let's see how far that gets us." Lena stood there, arms still crossed, her eyes daring Keanu to push back. The showroom felt smaller now, the air thick with unspoken tension. Keanu held her gaze for a beat, then let out a soft chuckle, shaking his head. "All right," he said, his voice low but steady. "If you're so sure I don't belong here, why don't you tell me where I do belong?" His words weren't loud, but they cut through the hum of the room, pulling every ear toward them. Lena's jaw tightened, and for a second, she didn't know what to say. Before she could fire back, a guy in a crisp Lux Motors polo shirt swaggered over. His name tag said Mark, and the smirk on his face said trouble. "Hey, Lena, what's the holdup?" he called, loud enough for everyone to hear. He stopped beside her, eyeing Keanu like he was sizing up a stray dog. "This guy giving you a hard time?" Mark's tone was all bravado, the kind that begged for a laugh from the crowd. A few employees near the desk snickered, feeding his ego. Keanu stayed quiet, hands still in his pockets, watching them both. Lena shot Mark a quick look, like she wasn't sure whether to play along or shut him down. "He's just browsing," she said, her voice flat now. "Thinks he's in the market for something here." Mark let out a bark of a laugh, crossing his arms to mirror her. "Yeah, right. Buddy, you look like you're shopping for a bus pass, not a Bentley." The words hit Keanu like a slap, but he didn't flinch. He'd heard worse. Years in the spotlight had thickened his skin, but something about Mark's smug grin stung deeper. It wasn't just the insult, it was the casual cruelty, the way it rolled off him like it was nothing. Keanu tilted his head, his eyes narrowing slightly. "That's what you think?" he asked, his voice calm but carrying a new edge. "That I don't measure up?" Mark grinned wider, sensing an audience. "Come on, man, look at you. Those jeans have seen better days, and that jacket? My uncle's got one just like it from the 90s. This place isn't for you." He turned to Lena, expecting her to back him up. She didn't laugh, but she didn't stop him either. Her silence said enough. Around them, the other employees had gone still, some shifting uncomfortably, others leaning in like this was a show. Keanu took a slow breath, feeling the weight of their stares. He wasn't here to prove anything, not yet, but the way they ganged up on him, like he was less than human, lit a quiet fire in his chest. He thought about all the people who'd walked through these doors, maybe dressed like him, maybe dreaming of something better, only to get laughed out. "So," he said, his voice steady, "you're both pretty good at reading people, huh? Figuring out who's worth your time?" Lena finally spoke, her tone sharp. "It's not about that. It's about knowing who can actually buy what we're selling. We've got quotas, standards. You don't look the part." Her words were cold, practical, but they landed heavy. Keanu nodded like he was taking it in, then stepped closer, his calm starting to feel dangerous. "And what part is that, Lena? Rich? Fancy? Someone who doesn't embarrass you?" She bristled, her tablet clutched tighter. "Don't twist this. I'm doing my job. You're wasting my time." Mark jumped in, voice louder now. "Yeah, dude, take a hint. Why don't you hit the road? We've got real customers to deal with." He waved a hand toward the door like he was shooing a kid away. The room buzzed with tension, every eye on Keanu, waiting for him to crack or leave. But Keanu didn't move. He stood there, rooted, his calm a wall they couldn't break. "Real customers," he repeated, letting the words hang. "Funny thing about that. I've got a question for you both." He paused, his gaze flicking between them. "What if I told you I could buy every car in this place cash right now? Would that change how you're talking to me?" Mark snorted, rolling his eyes. Sure, and I'm the King of England. Keep dreaming, pal. Lena's lips twitched, almost a smirk, but there was a flicker of doubt in her eyes. She opened her mouth to say something, then stopped, like she wasn't sure how far to push it. Keanu saw it, the crack in her armor, and pressed harder. No, really, he said, his voice softer now, almost gentle. Humor me. If I had the money, would you still be telling me to get lost? The question hit them like a punch they didn't see coming. Mark's smirk faltered, and Lena's face tightened, her confidence slipping. That's not the point, she said, but her voice wasn't as steady now. We deal with what's in front of us. And you? She stopped, like she knew she'd dug herself deeper. Keanu nodded, slow and deliberate. Right. What's in front of you? Me. The room went quiet, the weight of his words sinking in. He wasn't yelling, wasn't fighting. He didn't have to. His calm was louder than their noise, and it made them squirm. Mark shifted, his bravado fading. Look, man, no need to get all deep about it. Just move along, all right? But his voice cracked at the end, and Keanu caught it. He smiled faintly, not a happy smile, but one that said he'd seen enough. I'll move when I'm ready, Keanu said, his tone final. But let's try something else. You think you know me? Tell me more. What's my story, since you've got it all figured out? His eyes locked on Mark, then Lena, daring them to keep going. Mark opened his mouth, then shut it, glancing at Lena for backup. She didn't give it. We don't have time for this, she muttered, turning away. I've got work to do. Work, Keanu echoed, his voice barely above a whisper. Yeah, I bet you do. He watched her walk off, Mark trailing behind her like a kid who'd lost a fight. The other employees scattered, pretending to get busy, but their glances kept darting back to him. Keanu stood there, alone in the middle of the showroom, feeling the sting of it all. Not for himself, but for every person who'd ever been dismissed like that. He'd come here to test his dealership. But this was personal now. They thought they knew him. They had no idea. He pulled the folded list from his pocket, the one Lena had shoved at him, and stared at it. Used cars, budget options, practical. He crumpled it in his fist, not angry, just done. This wasn't about cars anymore. It was about people, about respect, and he wasn't leaving until they got that through their heads. He took a step toward the desk, his mind made up. Time to turn this around. Keanu stood in the middle of the showroom, the crumpled list still clenched in his fist. The buzz of Lux Motors had faded to a nervous hush, the employees pretending to work but stealing glances his way. He could feel their eyes, their quiet bets on what he'd do next. Lena and Mark had retreated behind the desk, whispering to each other, probably thinking they'd won. But Keanu wasn't done. Not even close. He dropped the paper to the floor, letting it hit with a soft thud, and pulled his phone from his pocket. He scrolled through his contacts, his thumbs steady, his face calm. The room seemed to hold its breath as he tapped a name, Victor, and lifted the phone to his ear. Yeah, it's me, he said, his voice low but clear. I'm at Lux Motors, everything's fine, just a little mix-up. Can you swing by? Think they need to hear it from you. He paused, listening, then nodded. Good. See you soon. He hung up, slipping the phone back into his pocket, and turned to face Lena and Mark. Lena's head snapped up from behind the desk, her eyes narrowing. What was that? She asked, her voice sharp with suspicion. Keanu met her gaze, his expression unreadable. Just called someone who can clear this up, he said simply. Mark let out a scoff, leaning back in his chair. Oh, come on. What, you've got a buddy who's gonna vouch for you? This isn't a movie, man. His laugh was loud, forced, but it didn't hide the flicker of unease in his eyes. Keanu didn't bite. He just stood there, hands back in his pockets, waiting. Guess we'll see, he said, his tone soft but heavy, like a promise. Lena crossed her arms, her tablet forgotten on the desk. You're wasting our time, she said, but her voice wasn't as steady now. If you've got something to say, just say it. Keanu tilted his head, a faint smile tugging at his lips. I'd rather show you. The minutes stretched out, thick with tension. The employees kept their distance, their whispers growing louder, their curiosity pulling them closer. Keanu didn't move, didn't fidget, just waited, his calm a stark contrast to the storm brewing around him. He thought about why he'd come here, not just to check on his business, but to see if it had a heart. So far, it didn't. And that hurt more than he'd expected. The glass doors slid open, breaking the silence. A man in a navy suit stepped in, his shoes clicking on the tile, his presence filling the room. Victor, the regional director, scanned the showroom, his serious face softening into a grin when he spotted Keanu. "Mr. Reeves," he said, striding over with an outstretched hand. "Good to see you." Keanu shook it, his grip firm, his smile small but real. "Thanks for coming, Victor. Appreciate it." The room froze. Lena's tablet slipped from her hands, clattering to the desk. Mark's smirk vanished, his chair creaking as he sat up straight. "Wait, Mr. Reeves?" Lena stammered, her voice barely a whisper. Victor turned to her, his grin fading into something sharper. "Yeah, Mr. Reeves, Keanu Reeves, the new owner of Lux Motors. I take it you've met." His tone was polite, but the edge in it cut deep. Lena's face went pale, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. I didn't," she started, but Victor cut her off. "Didn't realize? Yeah, I can see that." He glanced at Keanu, an apology in his eyes. "This isn't the welcome I'd hoped for, boss." Keanu raised a hand, stopping him. "It's okay, Victor, we're just getting started." Mark shot to his feet, his bravado crumbling. "Hold on, you're the owner? For real?" His voice cracked, and he looked at Lena like she'd have the answer. She didn't. She just stared at Keanu, her hands trembling. "I'm so sorry," she said, the words tumbling out. "I didn't know, I thought—" Keanu stepped closer, his calm unshaken. "You thought I was nobody," he finished for her, his voice gentle but firm. "That's the problem." The weight of it hit her hard. She sank back against the desk, her eyes wide with panic. Mark tried to laugh it off, but it came out weak. "Hey man, no hard feelings, right? Just a mix-up." Keanu didn't laugh. He didn't even look at him. His focus stayed on Lena, the one who'd set the tone. "Tell me something," he said, his voice low enough to make everyone lean in. "If I wasn't the owner, would you still be sorry? Or would you just keep laughing me out the door?" Lena didn't answer. She couldn't. The silence was deafening, her shame filling the room. Around them, the other employees shifted, some looking away, some whispering furiously. One guy near the back, Tom, his name tag said, spoke up, his voice shaky. "We didn't all know, sir. Some of us would have helped you." Keanu nodded, acknowledging him. "I believe you," he said, "but this isn't about one person. It's about all of you." He turned to Victor, his voice steady. "Get everyone together, conference room, now." Victor nodded, already moving, barking orders to the staff. Lena stayed rooted, her eyes locked on Keanu. "Mr. Reeves," she said, her voice breaking, "I messed up. I'll do anything to fix this." Keanu looked at her, really looked at her, and saw the fear behind her words. "We'll talk," he said, "but first we're fixing this place." As the employees shuffled toward the conference room, Keanu stood alone for a moment, feeling the weight of what just happened. He wasn't angry, not anymore. He was sad. Sad for the people who'd been turned away before him. Sad for the ones who'd never get an apology. This was his dealership, his chance to make it right, and he would. No matter what it took. The conference room at Lux Motors felt like a pressure cooker, the glass walls closing in as the staff filed in. Keanu stood at the head of the long table, hands resting lightly on its edge, his calm a steady anchor in the storm. Victor leaned against the door, arms crossed, his sharp eyes scanning the group. Lena sat near the back, her usual confidence gone, her hands twisting in her lap. Mark slumped beside her, his smirk replaced by a nervous twitch. The air buzzed with unease, every whisper and creak amplified. Keanu cleared his throat, and the room went dead silent. "Thanks for coming in," he said, his voice firm but not harsh. "For those who don't know, I'm Keanu Reeves, the new owner of Lux Motors. I came here today dressed like this," he gestured to his worn jeans and jacket, "because I wanted to see the real you. How you treat people when you think no one's watching." He paused, letting that sink in. What I saw wasn't good. The words landed heavy, and a few heads dropped. Tom, the guy who'd spoken up earlier, shifted in his seat, his face tight with guilt. Keanu kept going. "I got judged today, not for who I am, but for how I look. And I'm betting I'm not the first." That's not what this place should be. His eyes swept the room, locking on Lena for a moment. She flinched, but he didn't linger. This isn't about pointing fingers, he said. It's about fixing what's broken. Mark snorted, low enough to pretend it was an accident, but Keanu caught it. Something to say, he asked, his tone even. Mark froze, then shrugged, faking casual. Just sounds like a lot of talk. We've got a business to run. The room tensed, eyes darting between them. Keanu nodded, slow and deliberate. You're right, it's a business. But it's my business, and it's going to run my way. He straightened, his voice gaining strength. Starting today, things change. Every customer gets respect. Doesn't matter what they're wearing, what they drive, or what you think they can afford. We're putting in training, new rules, the works. Because this isn't just about cars, it's about people. He paused, letting that hit home. If you can't get behind that, there's the door. The silence was thick, broken only by the hum of the AC. Tom raised a hand, hesitant. Mr. Reeves, I get it. We messed up. But sometimes it's hard. We're trained to spot the big spenders. How do we fix that? Keanu nodded, appreciating the honesty. It's not easy, he said. We all judge sometimes, me too. But we've got to try harder, ask questions, listen, give people a chance. That's how we start. He turned to Lena, his voice softening. Lena, you've been here a while. Anything you want to add? All eyes swung to her. She swallowed hard, her face flushed. I screwed up, she said, her voice small but clear. I judged you and I was wrong. I'm sorry, to you, to everyone I've done it to before. I'll do better. The room held its breath, waiting for Keanu's response. He nodded, his expression steady. Thanks for that, it's a start, we'll talk more later. The meeting shifted, the tension easing just a bit. Keanu laid out the plan. Training sessions, a new code of conduct, regular check-ins. The staff murmured, some nodding, some still wary. Victor stepped forward, backing him up. This is happening, he said. Mr. Reeves means it. Let's make it work. Most seemed on board, ready to try. But Keanu noticed Mark, his jaw tight, his eyes dark. Something was off. Later, as the staff filtered out, Keanu caught whispers. Mark talking to a couple of guys by the water cooler, his voice low and bitter. He's just grandstanding, Mark muttered. Wait till he's gone, I'll show him how this place really runs. Keanu didn't confront him, not yet. He filed it away, knowing trouble was brewing. He'd deal with it when it came. The next day, Keanu showed up again, this time in a plain button-up shirt, still low-key. He watched Lena greet a young guy in a hoodie, her smile genuine, her tone warm. Hey, welcome to Lux Motors, she said. What you looking for? The guy hesitated, then grinned. Just dreaming, I guess, Lena nodded. Dream big. Let's check out a few. Keanu smiled to himself. Progress. But then he heard it. A rumor floating through the staff. Someone had tipped off a local blog claiming Lux Motors was a scam, that Keanu was a fake owner pushing a PR stunt. The story was gaining traction and Keanu knew who was behind it. He found Mark in the break room, smirking at his phone. Something funny? Keanu asked, his voice calm but cold. Mark jumped, his smirk fading. Just scrolling, he lied, pocketing the device. Keanu stepped closer, his eyes locked on Mark's. I gave everyone a chance to step up, he said. You chose to push back. Why? Mark's bravado cracked, his voice shaky. You don't get it. This place was fine before you. You're messing it all up. Keanu nodded, like he understood. Maybe. But it's not your call anymore. He walked away, leaving Mark rattled. Keanu wasn't here to play games, he was here to build something better. And he'd fight for it, one step at a time. Lena's change gave him hope, but Mark's defiance was a reminder. Not everyone would come around. That was okay. He'd handle it. For the people who'd been judged, for the ones who'd walk through those doors next, he'd make this right. Keanu sat in his office at Lux Motors, the hume of the showroom filtering through the glass. It'd been a week since the rumors started. Mark's petty stab at revenge. The blog post had spread, calling Keanu a fraud. But he didn't panic. He'd faced worse. Instead, he called Victor. Dig into it, he said. Find the source. Victor came back fast. Text from Mark's phone leaked to a friend at the blog, proof in black and white. That morning, Keanu called a meeting. The staff gathered, tense, sensing something big. Mark slouched in the back, eyes darting. Keanu stood up, holding the printout of Mark's messages. "Someone here tried to tear this place down," he said, his voice steady. "Spread lies to hurt us, hurt me." He tossed the papers on the table. "Mark, you want to explain?" Mark's face went red, then white. "That's not... I didn't..." he stammered, but the room saw through it. Lena stood up, her voice firm. "You did. I heard you bragging about it." The staff gasped, turning on him. Mark shrank, caught. Keanu nodded. "You're out," he said. "Pack your stuff." Mark stormed off, defeated, the door slamming behind him. But the twist wasn't over. Lena stepped forward, her eyes earnest. "Mr. Reeves, I want to lead the training," she said. "I messed up before. I get it now. Let me help fix this." Keanu looked at her, saw the change, and nodded. "All right, show me," she smiled, small but real, and the room felt lighter. Days later, Keanu watched Lena train the team, teaching respect, listening, second chances. The showroom buzzed with a new energy. Word spread through Valora. Lux Motors wasn't just cars, it was a lesson. People came not just to buy, but to see the change. Keanu stepped outside, the sun warm on his face. Mark was gone, Lena had risen, and justice had won, not with fists, but with heart. He'd built something better for everyone who'd ever been judged. And that was enough. To me, Keanu's story hits hard. Don't we all judge too fast sometimes? I think it's a wake-up call, treat people right no matter what they look like. But maybe some will say, Lena and Mark were just doing their jobs in a tough world. What do you think? Does kindness win, or is it survival of the fittest? Thanks for reading this tale of justice. Drop your thoughts below. Agree or disagree, I'd love to hear. Hit like if it moved you, and follow the channel for more stories that make us think. See you next time.